You ever have one of those days where you know exactly what you need to do, but you just can't bring yourself to start? Well, today we're going to get into the science behind that feeling and unpack a totally new way to think about getting things done.
Let's just start with this idea, because it is powerful. This isn't about having more willpower. You're not lazy. Your attention is just unstructured. It's kind of leaking out all over the place. But once you learn how to plug that leak, everything starts to change.
Okay, so first things first, we've got to bust the biggest myth in productivity, the idea that you just need to find more motivation. The problem isn't about your desire to do the work. Nope, it's actually something way deeper, something that's wired right into our biology.
I mean, come on, does this sound familiar to you? You decide, okay, tomorrow I'm absolutely going to read for 15 minutes. But then you wake up, you do one quick check of your phone, and suddenly 2 hours have just evaporated into this weird rabbit hole of videos about pet ostriches. And that important task? Yeah, it's still sitting there, waiting.
And you know that feeling of guilt that comes after? Well, you can just let it go. This isn't some personal weakness or a character flaw. It's actually your brain doing exactly what it was programmed to do, to help us survive.
See, our brains are basically hardwired to save energy. So when we face a hard task, it creates this tiny flicker of discomfort. And to escape that feeling, our brain automatically looks for something easy and, well, comfortable. Usually that means distraction. So procrastination, it isn't a bug, it's more like the brain's factory default setting when there's no clear, super easy path forward.
So if distraction is the default, what are we supposed to be aiming for? It's not about just gritting your teeth and forcing your way through tasks. The real goal is to reach this optimal state of mind, a state of peak performance and, believe it or not, enjoyment. Psychologists call it flow, but you probably know it as being in the zone. So what is flow really? Well, here's the official definition. I want you to notice the key words here: energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment. That last one, enjoyment, is so important. Flow isn't about forcing yourself to do something. It's about getting so lost in it that the work itself actually becomes the reward. And this part is so cool. It's where the name flow actually comes from. The original artists and athletes that were studied kept describing the feeling with the exact same metaphor, like being carried effortlessly by a current of water. It's less like you're pushing a giant boulder up a hill and more like you're just being pulled along by a river. So how do you know if you're in it? These are the classic signs. You get this laser-like focus, and everything you're doing just feels automatic. You completely lose that little nagging voice in your head. Self-consciousness, it just melts away. Hours can feel like minutes. And most importantly, you're doing the thing just for the love of doing it, not because you're expecting a prize at the end. Now this right here, this is the secret sauce. Flow doesn't just happen by accident. It lives in this very specific sweet spot, right where a high-challenge task meets your high level of skill. Think about it. If a task is way too hard, you feel anxious. If it's way too easy, you're just bored. But when the challenge pushes your skills right to the edge of your comfort zone, that's the magic spot. That's where you find flow.
Okay, so we get the problem, our brain's lazy default mode, and we know the goal, get into flow. But how do we actually get from point A to point B? Well, it starts with the big picture. We need a macro solution that gets rid of the single biggest thing stopping us, the decision itself.
And here it is. This might be the most important rule of all. Never decide what to do next in the moment. Seriously. The second you have to ask yourself, okay, what should I work on now? You've just opened the door for your brain to pick the easiest option. And you know what? That option almost never leads to your goals.
So let's just look at the two paths you can take. On one side, you have the old way, waking up and just hoping you feel motivated. This just burns up mental energy while you argue with yourself, and it almost always ends with you feeling guilty and tired. But the structured approach? Total game changer. You decide one time, 9 a.m. is for writing, and that's it. You just do it. It becomes automatic, and you save all that precious mental energy for the actual task.
So, that structure is our big picture strategy, our game plan. But what about right in the moment, when you're staring at a blank page and you still feel that resistance? That's where our micro solution comes in. It's a brilliantly simple little trick to finally get you moving.
It's called the 2-minute rule, and it's pretty much as simple as it sounds. Whatever new habit you're trying to build, you just scale it down so that the very first step, the little ritual to get started, takes less than 2 minutes.
Here's a perfect example to make this crystal clear. Let's say your huge goal is to run a marathon. That's pretty intimidating, right? But what's the 2-minute version? It's just putting on your running shoes. That's it. Anyone can do that. It's so easy and non-threatening that your brain doesn't even have a reason to fight back.
And this is the deep psychology of why this little trick is so incredibly powerful. The point isn't really about just putting on your shoes. The point is to become the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. See, every time you do that tiny little action, you're casting a vote for that new identity. You're mastering the simple habit of just showing up. And once you've shown up, it's 100 times easier to keep going. All right, let's put all the pieces together now. We've busted the motivation myth, we've looked at the science of flow, and we've got two powerful tools: structure and the 2-minute rule. Now let's combine them into one simple system that you can literally start using today.
So here's how these two ideas lock together perfectly. Think of the 2-minute rule as your launch pad. It's the rocket booster that gets you off the ground and moving. And your structure? That's like your GPS navigation system, telling you exactly where to go so you don't waste any energy on decisions. When you put them together, you create the perfect conditions for that amazing flow state to just happen.
So you want to try this? Here is your super simple starter kit. Number 1, pick one and only one important goal. Let's say it's read more books. 2, scale it down to a 2-minute action, something like read 1 page. 3, and this is your structure, decide ahead of time when and where you're going to do it. Tonight at 10 p.m. in my favorite chair. And number 4, when the time comes, you just do it. The decision is already made. There is no negotiation allowed.
Look, if you only remember one thing from all of this, please let it be this. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer decisions. The real secret to getting things done isn't about finding more willpower. It's about building a system that makes starting easy and makes taking action the default path. So I'll leave you with a little challenge. What is the one tiny, almost laughably simple 2-minute action you can take today, in the next 24 hours, to cast a vote for the person you want to become? Think about it, pick one, and then just go do it. Start right there.